Hi, welcome to Grounded Growth Podcast. I'm Nicole Ghirardi.
And I'm Stephanie Petry. We believe that grounded growth comes from being intentional about compassionate connections that are beautifully balanced while flourishing in faithfulness.
Each week, we will share real conversations, encouragement, and simple systems to help build a life that feels steady, aligned, and grounded.
So sit back, maybe grab a coffee, and join us where clarity meets calm and growth feels intentional.
Before we dive in, if you want to make sure you never miss a conversation, hit that subscribe or follow button right now on whatever app you're listening on.
Welcome back. I'm Stephanie Petry.
And I'm Nicole Ghirardi.
We are going to be talking about quarterly planning today. So why planning your quarter helps more than you think? Well, first, we're going to actually start with how sometimes it can come across as intimidating and why people don't plan quarterly. And I would say that that's probably one of my areas in this is, and I'll just be upfront and say, I do not do quarterly planning quite like Nicole does. I did more annual planning and then kind of break it down into quarters. Yes, more monthly, but we can talk about that later. Mainly just what it is and why many women avoid quarterly planning. So, Nicole?
Well, I think a lot of quarterly planning people are scared of is because they feel like it's restrictive. They can't go out of the box of what they thought that was the goal of the plan. Now, don't get me wrong, I annually plan too. I am like Steph with that, but I big picture, then chunk it up into 4 quarters, then chunk my quarter into 3 months. Then I have my monthly goals, my weekly goals, my daily goals. There's lots of goals with all of it going back to my annual goals. I think that's the big picture and I do that for the sake that let's look at it as a business mindset. My insurance agency. Let's say I want to write $360,000 in premium this year. That seems like a really big number. It is a big number. So being able to chunk that up into $90,000 each quarter seems more obtainable. To then chop it up a little bit more into $30,000 a month, which is even more manageable. So we're just taking that elephant and taking one bite at a time and making it smaller to make us end up getting to our priorities for the week and your daily habits that get you to your goals. Clear as mud, right?
You say it in like a business way. That makes sense. What I struggle with as a teacher is like what does that actually look like in my profession? Especially as a music teacher, I'm more performance based. So I'm focusing on my musical for this spring, or I'm focusing on that grades were due back in December. So I mean, I just have different types of goals, I think. And I think that's why when I was doing goal setting, I was also coming into faith at the same time. So a lot of my goals were very faith driven and really helped me become more habitual with like reading God's word but then I like had goals to do that.
Yeah. Which most of them will end up being habits that are just into your normal routine. So think of it as with you walking into faith. Let's say that your goal for the year is to read the Bible in a year. So that Bible in the year seems like there is a lot of pages and a lot of books. How can I get it? So you're going to chunk that up into quarters. And so then that way a quarter just seems like I'm dividing my year in 4 because it's an even number. Okay. And being able to make it into a mini micro goal for your annual goal. Okay. So then that way it's more obtainable where you're not going to give up and just say, so let's look at it in New Year's resolutions. I do not believe in New Year's resolutions because everyone's New Year's resolution is I'm going to lose weight. Well, then they eat the junk food. They do all of the things by day 7. They've given up. About 85% of people give up on their New Year's resolution by the first month of it. And then they give up because it was just a New Year's resolution. There was no goal. There was no planning to get to where they wanted to achieve of, I'm going to have a healthier year. And that's where you planning and setting your goals up is what's going to make you succeed in what you need to do.
I think that that's probably another reason why people don't do it is because they don't know where to start, how to do it. They don't know how to goal set well. And it's not a priority for them. Therefore, they don't take the time to do it.
Correct.
When I was setting my annual goals, I remember I didn't realize that's what this was until now that I'm friends with a business person. I was taking quarterly quiet time. And so I would literally take a day off of work and I would go often to a winery. I would have my planner and my goal setting book and fun little colored pens and all those things, stickers, and I would just plan for my next. Um, and so anyway, so I remember doing that, and I would take that time to journal and reflect, but it took intentionality to actually take that time away and to be intentional with it.
Right. And I think it's being intentional, which that's my word for the year, is anything that I do has to be intentional for my life to make me feel that it's something I need to do for the year. And so what I think a lot of it is that we hold so much pressure of getting everything right. And that's the one thing you have to look at, is that looking at it quarterly is giving you those reflections to be able to tweak and pivot to make your goal where you need to be, because where you are in January isn't going to be where you're going to land in December. And so even when you're checking in on 3 months at a time, okay, what did I do last 3 months? Just like our weekly reset, what was heavy? What were my wins? What was stressful? What do I need to do differently? You can take that weekly reset, make it annual, make it quarterly, make it monthly, and make it weekly. Because all you're doing is reflecting into what am I doing and what are my priorities, and my laying the foundation of where I need to be by the end of the year.
What do you do when you don't achieve what you set out to do for that quarter? And you're going to have to, like you said, pivot. I mean, I guess that's why it's great to have those quarterly goals linked to an annual goal, because something may unexpectedly come up and you have to reorient how you're going to achieve that goal. Quarterly would be good because then you get to reevaluate it, even if you're not going to get to that final goal.
Like, for instance, last year, I had a goal of doing Nicole G consulting by the end of December and being up and running and really making that my priority versus being in the agency. Look where we are now. So did I have the right concept of my goal was to be able to find my passion and be able to utilize those same skills into doing something? Absolutely. God took that year goal and he pivoted to where we are today. And that's where quarterly it makes more sense, because I knew, okay, this was my goal for by the end of June, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Well, when I realized that wasn't where I needed to be, instead of saying, okay, well, I'm just giving up my goal, I'm tweaking it. So it's not like you are putting it in permanent marker on your forehead and it doesn't go away until you hit it. You have to look at planning as what it is. It's planning. It's not perfecting.
That's the hard part, because you put in so much time and effort into planning something that I tend to feel like I failed if I don't accomplish what I set out to do.
I agree with you. And I feel like that's why people don't plan at all. They don't. They don't want to feel like they failed. And that's where you have to look at planning completely different.
Because if you look at it that way, then what's worse, that you set out to do something and fail, or you didn't even try to begin with?
Exactly. So, I think quarterly makes it just more realistic, where it sounds, okay, so this is a prime example. I'm going to lose 80 pounds for the year. That seems like a steep number. Okay, but break it down quarterly, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Well, now I have a breakable goal and saying, okay, what do I need to do weekly? Well, that's, a pound and a tenth or whatever it is weekly, where you're able to take that big chunk and be able to just say, okay, these 90 days, these are my 2 to 4. Don't make any more goals than that because the whirlwinds of the world are going to wipe you out and you're not going to be able to track it. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to give up. But being able to do it for just 90 days to be able to see, does this work? Does this match my values? Does this match my vision and my mission for the year? And really be able to fine tune how you want this to look at growing. My numbers or my goals will change after quarter one based off of what I reflected for quarter one. It may be completely different. I may take one of my goals and like right now, we have a weight loss goal that between the two of us and we're playing the accountability partners. I may tweak it and say, okay, well, instead of losing the weight, I want to look at my muscle mass. So then that way I'm more focusing on the muscle part because of course, when you lose weight, you're losing the fat, but you're also gaining muscle at the same time. So you can't look at the scale as the determining factor of you being healthy. You know what I mean?
So what about what does quarterly planning actually do for you? Why do you prefer the quarterly plan?
I feel like it gives me clarity. And I feel like it gives me the direction that I need and that I don't want to be in stone for the year of where I'm going. That I would rather say, okay, I have a check-in and my quarter. And that's where, it helps me say yes to the things I need to say yes to in this quarter, where I may be able to say no to them next quarter based off of where I am. And I feel like that's just kind of where it makes sense in my world.
The way that you are explaining it is actually allowing a lot more flexibility and freedom. When I think of goals, I think of you either achieve it or you don't. And because I've always been an annual goal kind of mindset, I think that the way that you are able to show how you can fluctuate, how you can reinstate it in a different way, I think those things are allowing you to be realistic with it too.
Right.
Rather than what you just said, like set in stone. So I think that is important. One of the things that when I'm goal setting is having that strong why a lot. That's really what keeps me driven and keeps me going back, even if I have fallen off.
Agreed.
So if my goals don't have purpose, then it's not going to have a strong reason of why I'm even doing it to begin with.
And I really think that you bringing up the why is important for who you are too, because you have to know the whys of and the expectations of everything. Is that the first why that comes into mind isn't your why. You have to then ask yourself, now dig deeper. What's the other why? It's 3-4 layers down that you get to where you finally decide this is my true why. Because we always have those, well, I want to lose weight because I want to feel good. Well, that's not really why you want to feel good. Why do you want to feel good? Because you want to feel confident in your body. Why do you want to feel confident in your body? Because I want to be able to, be active and doing the things that I want to do with my kids and that I want to have family time. And it really digs deeper down that I don't want to lose weight because I want to look good. I want to lose weight because I want to be the best version of myself for my kids to be the mentor that I need to be. And that's where you have to believe in your why. And that's super important.
I think too, having those goals is allowing you to stay focused on something. And so when those slumps come, when those times in life come, or snow days come, and I slip on my routines, being able to have a goal to go back to keep me focused, and then again tied to the why.
Agreed.
Because it is aligning your life with what you truly believe and what you're wanting. And so when you are aligning your goals to all aspects of your life, yes, your goal might be dependent upon like a career goal, a health and wellness goal, but all of it should be tied to your morals of who you are.
I know that you don't like to categorize your life, okay? But sometimes you have to pick it apart to be able to know what your goals are really. But I think that bottom line is that if you don't know your core values and your core needs, first off, we got a workbook for it, so we can share it. But you have to know who you are and what you value to then know, to be able to pull, not categorize your life, but be able to have, those type of goals on there, because I have 4 goals for the year. Like one is personal, one is family, so it's financial, one is for the grounded growth, and one's for the agency. I feel like that is me in a whole. So chop me up in a quadrant, because 4 is my number. But that way, then it then brings me to who I am, because each of those are a core value in my life. That way, then I can financially, it's the stability, being able to provide for my family, and, being able to better myself and be healthy. And that's mentally, spiritually, and everything, where you're tying it all together. So then that way, then grounded growth is me being able to give back and being able to help others and do those type of things. And then, of course, the agency is really just being able to do that in a whole other perspective. So that's why I feel like sometimes categories make sense for people, but it's not like you're just saying, this is my business, this is a health goal, this is everything. You have to look at it and have it all tied together with your core values.
The reason I don't like categorizing life is because I used to do that. So much so that each one had a very specific color in my Google Drive and its own folder and on my calendar and all those things. And for organization purposes, sure, that's fine. But when you are categorizing your life and you are a different person for those different categories, that's the problem.
Correct.
That was my problem. And that's why I'm a little nervous about categories in life. I think that you need to be true to who you are in all aspects in what you are doing. And so to have that cohesiveness, the consistency, the alignment, it starts with your core values and who you are and what you believe morally. And so that needs to pour into all aspects of your life, all categories of you want to say that. So that's kind of more where that came from.
Talking about categories, even though you don't really like them, have you ever done a wheel of life?
No.
Okay. So a wheel of life, think of it as a big circle. Okay. And it has all the areas and categories of, it could be financial, it could be personal growth, spiritual, it could be health, it could be kind of where you are. And so each of them has like 10 little blocks inside of it. Okay. And you rate yourself in the beginning of a quarter. At least this is what I do, of where am I in all of my categories and my aspects of life? What am I giving time to, and what am I taking time away from? And so then that way you can kind of look at it as to be able to then say, okay, well, my goal is to be able to create more family time, to be able to do worship time at night. And so my family may get a lot of my time this quarter trying to figure out what that looks like for us. Because at the end of the quarter, you then reevaluate, and now where am I at? What am I spending my time on? What do I rate myself from 1 to 10 and where I need to see my growth? And that's where you then can pray on it and figure out what God wants you to spend that time on. But at least then you're able to kind of see it in a synopsis for the people that like to color. Then you can kind of see the wheel of life.
I'm also
Absolutely. I could totally whip that up in no time. I'll probably make it tonight before you go to bed. Yes. So, and we talked a lot about core values, and I know that we were able to share this with Little Black Book and a wine and workshop. So if you guys need the help of being able to do core values and being able to find your vision and your mission, reach out to us. We have a great free resource that we can kind of share. It's a 1-page document of being able to break it down and really fine tune it, because I feel like no matter where you are in life, if you don't know that, you're going to feel lost. You're going to feel overwhelmed because you don't know who you are. So how are you supposed to create goals at all?
So what do we focus on when we are planning our quarter?
You focus on your life. So you have to choose priorities over endless goals. I can come up with 17 goals off the top of my head. Yes, it's an odd number that I want to do. But should I do them? Is the season right? Am I at the capacity to be able to do it? Can I keep that pace up? The answers are going to be no for a lot of those. So those are when you're tabling them to make them in the season that you need to be. Where being able to not time block every single part of your day, where you're going to have those white spaces to be able to brainstorm, to work on the things that you want, to focus on your goals in a different mindset. Because I feel like everyone feels that you have to check a box every day for a goal. And I don't feel that some of your goals aren't going to be daily checks on a box.
When I was thinking about this, I was thinking how goals often have achievement linked to it. And then I was trying to figure out how to say what is the difference between a goal and a priority. When I think of priority, I think everybody has priorities because everyone prioritizes their time. And so I feel like priorities are what you're choosing to live on purpose.
Yes,
That's not necessarily linked to an achievement.
agreed.
That's the biggest difference between a goal and a priority.
And a lot of people's priorities don't ever match their goals. Goals are very important. In my opinion, I feel that without it, you don't have direction. You at least know this is the direction I'm wanting to move forward. You have that path that's a roller coaster because nothing ever happens where it's a straight, fast line, of being able to get from A to B. But being able to utilize what you have set for yourself and getting to being just 1% better than where you were yesterday.
You could look at it in another way of if you're someone who has not set goals, then being able to look at your time of what you are prioritizing might be a good place to start
Yes.
for goal setting. Because you can take what you're already thinking is important to you, and then you need to set a goal for that thing or for that category.
Correct.
And so that might be another good way to get started if you don't know where to start.
I agree. And we talked about it in 2 episodes ago, is the time blocking thing. Do a time audit. You would be surprised to realize what you consider a priority in your life, which isn't really a priority. Of where do you spend the most of your time? Your phone. We spend a lot of time on our phones and our computer. Is that really a priority? From a lot of us, the answer is going to be no. Where do we do with that small little bit of time on something that we really do want to make a priority and make it the goal that we want to? A lot of people say they don't have enough time. You make time for what's important to yourself. Somebody who makes it a priority to have a morning routine to get up in the day and I can't believe that you wake up at 4:30 and work out. If that's a priority to you, go girl, because that's you picking you first of what you need to do for priorities before the day starts. Let's take meal planning. Okay. So maybe you have a goal this year of getting better with not letting the meals be stressful, of don't let meal planning run you, you run your meal planning. Okay. And let's say that by the end of the year, I want to be able to meal plan. Let's go crazy and do a monthly meal plan. And I want to prep maybe some breakfast and lunch for the week because I feel like that would be a great thing to do on a Saturday and be able to feel less stressed about what everyone's eating every week. Okay. That seems like a lot, don't you think? Okay. So thinking of it, this is what you're going to do. You're going to brain dump everything that you can think of about how to get there. And you're going to chunk it up into 4 major steps. So think of quarter 1 as I'm just going to collect all the data. Okay. I'm going to find out what favorite meals my family loves. I'm going to figure out what they absolutely despise that I make and they just eat because I made it and create some type of database of all of the meals. Okay. Is that a planner? Is that a Google Calendar? Is it a spreadsheet? Is it, your phone on Pinterest? I'm a big Pinterest person. Whatever you do to organize it, that's just quarter 1. That's manageable, right? So it's not daily. You're not having to do something daily. You're not even having to put this on a monthly. You're just collecting data. It's ongoing. You're figuring out, oh, this meal didn't work. This one took 30 minutes. This one took an hour and a half. I'm not prepping all of that food anymore. You're finding what works for your family. So then quarter 2 could be, I'm going to meal plan for just 3 days a week. Just 3 days. I'm going to do it weekly during my weekly reset. I'm going to plan for 3 days and you stay consistent. You have to stay consistent with it because if 3 days seems like a lot, don't start there. Plan 1 meal a week, whatever the case may be. But that quarter 2 is you're laying the foundation of the habit that you're creating. That's all that That's all quarter 2 is. So you committing to 2, 3, whatever it is. So maybe then quarter 3 is that I'm going to take and I'm going to keep the consistency of those 3 days a week, but I'm going to meal prep breakfasts now. So I'm going to keep what I'm doing, and then I'm going to add just a stacking on top of it, something else to get me to my long-term goal. Because by quarter 4, I then can say, okay, I have been meal planning for 3 days. I have been now adding breakfast. Guess what? I can add lunch and I can add one more day. You are now meal planning. So you might have started in saying, hey, I'm going to plan for the month. That didn't work out, but weekly is manageable. And you just took something that wouldn't have thought of as an annual goal, and you broke it down into chunks of pieces that make sense. And I think that's the big thing. So we are going to go into our verse for the podcast episode. So Psalm chapter 27, verse 11, teach me your way, Lord, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies. Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord.
So, in order to be taught, we must humble ourselves before the Lord and listen. One thing about praying to God for patience is that He's going to give you opportunities to practice your patience. And when you are asking to be humble, He's going to give you some humility and some things to practice that with. In order to lead, we must surrender our false reign to submit to God reigning over our lives. So we must surrender the false reigns. We must surrender that false sense of control, because when we are setting goals and we have these achievements happening, tends to start having us believe in the lies that it's because of us. Now, you have to realize that this is a faith thing. So, I mean, it's really because of God having you have that desire. And if you're achieving it, it's because that has now aligned with what His will is for you. Just because God wills something in your life and He has the control over it does not mean that you just sit and be complacent. You're still called to act, you're still called to move, we're still called to plan. Those are not things that are wrong or sinful. Where it becomes wrong or sinful is when we think it's because of us that the achievement, but it's because of the Lord through us. Our patience and strength are not in ourselves, but it is through the Holy Spirit where we practice our obedience. So again, nothing good of us is ever really going to come out. It truly is from the Holy Spirit that is guiding us. And so, patience is a fruit of the Spirit, and that is something that we have to practice. And you're not going to be perfect at it, and you might be reactive at times, and you need to go and reconcile or confess those times. When you realize that you have endured a hardship, you need to be thanking God for that, because that steadfastness is coming from Him and the Spirit that He has inside of you. God sees the whole you. He knows you fully, and He adores you as His child. Sometimes we tend to forget that because, again, with goal setting, we're constantly feeling like what we're doing isn't enough, or maybe we didn't achieve what we set out to do. But to realize that God even loves you in your failures, that God sees you and knows what your heart is desiring, that He knows you fully and He knows your intent. Even if there's times where we're trying to steamroll the God of the universe. And newsflash, you can't. Just so you know, you tend to spiral when that happens. So just remember that we are to submit ourselves to His will and to who He is. And we can only do that if we're in His word. We can only do that if we are praying our desires and our needs to Him, and if we are being still and listening to Him. So again, teach us your way, O Lord, and lead us on a level path.
Love it. Well said, friend. Well, with that, we are wrapping up this episode. Just know you give yourself grace of doing this. It's just a tool. It's not a test. There's no perfection. There's no right or wrong of what you're doing. If you need guidance, reach out to us. We would love to be able to help. As you can see, planning is our jam. So we love doing it. And just approach next quarter with grace, giving yourself the ability to work in your season, not in your neighbor's season of time. So next episode, which Stephanie doesn't even know about, but I am wanting to talk about when you feel emotionally depleted or drained, how do you keep going in your quarter, or how do you keep going to work towards those goals that you have?
Also, don't forget to check out our Facebook, join our community.
Yes.
And don't forget about our Roots Journal that is now out and live and ready for you to purchase.
We are so excited. Thank you for all of the support of everyone. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. And we are excited to go in this journey. So definitely let us know what your guys' thoughts are on everything. Go to the free resource of the core values, and that way then we can help you with that. But in the meantime, have a great day, guys. See you later. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Grounded Growth.
We hope today brought you clarity, encouragement, and a gentle reminder that you're not walking this journey alone.
If this episode spoke to you, we'd love for you to share it, subscribe, and leave a review.
We'll see you next week. Until then, stay grounded and keep growing.